Hi everyone, and welcome again to my kitchen. This is Mage Engage, where my aim is to introduce you, the Magento community, to you, the Magento community. I'm joined today by Rob. Welcome.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for taking time and joining me.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure. So, firstly, could you please introduce yourself to the viewers?
Yeah, I am Rob Tull. I'm the senior business analyst at Classy Llama, Magento Gold solutions partner, and I've been doing Magento stuff for about six or so years. I started in front end development and slowly worked my way into the analyst kind of requirements side of things. So I'm Magento certified developer, Magento certified solution specialist, and when I'm not at home, I'm doing Magento.
Cool. Okay, well, that's really interesting, but that's not what I want to get you here to talk about. What I got you here to talk about was your passion for the Zelda series of games. Um, I have played a few, but I'm fairly sure you've played a few more than I have. Um, so, how about we start from the beginning? And what was your first experience with Zelda?
Yeah, so my first experience with Zelda was I was spending time doing some work in like independent film, and one of my buddies and I were talking about stories and stories in different medium, and he told me about like stories in video games, and at the time I'd never played like a story driven game, and he said Ocarina of Time for the Nintendo 64 was like the best story driven game ever. So I downloaded like an emulator for the N64 and found a ROM on the internet and started playing it, and I was hooked. I just loved it. I think I've gone on to play it like three times to date, and that's like 100% like every side quest, the whole. I think I could probably burn through the whole thing in like a speed run now. Like I know where everything is every
Yeah.
yeah. So that was the beginning.
Okay. Okay, that's cool. And so you kind of started in the middle of the series, as it were.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's Ocarina of Time's like the hallmark
Hmm.
one, but I played that and I played it a bunch, and I didn't have a console, so I was just emulating. And then a few years ago, my wife and I bought a Wii,
Hmm.
and so the next one I picked up was Twilight Princess. So I skipped a few games there, but Twilight Princess was like right on the bridge between GameCube and Wii, and that was just so much fun. I like at that point I was done. I started like going on the virtual console that Nintendo has and buying like all the old ones, all the
Okay.
different old ones for the game, and like playing with those, and just really enjoyed that. And then most recently I got Skyward Sword, which is the newest one for Wii, and so yeah, I'm kind of like all over the map. I have no sort of proper progression. I'm just like,
Okay.
oh, that's a Zelda game. I'll try it. So
That's cool. That's cool. So yeah, so you didn't start at the beginning, you're just picking up which games you want and whatever
yep,
finds interesting.
yeah.
That's cool. So what is it that you find so interesting about the series of games?
I think I like the story aspect of it.
Hmm.
I'm kind of a like sword and sandal genre person, so I like movies like Gladiator and things with sword fighting in that whole sort of era. And the Zelda games are very much set in that kind of a time, running around with like a sword and a shield, and like
Yeah.
having all these combat battles. And then on top of that, there's just this great story aspect to the game. You know, you're this like hero trying to save the world from darkness and like get the girl, and the whole thing. And I just really enjoy that like questing nature of it. And they're not like they're adventuresome, but they've got puzzles, and then
Yeah.
they're not like, except for a couple of points in every game, they're not too hard. Like there's a couple of times I want to throw my controller at the TV usually, but it's like for the most part, like you can really just like get into it and have fun with it. And there's always like a good mythology to
Hmm.
like what happened in the world and why you are where you are, and you're like
Okay.
you're always like fated to be this like hero and save everything. So I like that. It's fun for me.
Cool. So the series themselves, do they fit together? Are they in chronological order, or is there a whole history behind it that?
Yeah, I mean they like they, Nintendo says they fit together.
Hmm.
They published this official Hyrule Historia, which is like
Hmm.
the book for all things Zelda. It's like this collection of artwork from forever, and that was the first time they published an official like timeline of how all the games
Okay.
fit together. And they're not in any chronological order as far as like when they came out. Like the original Legend of Zelda for the Nintendo Entertainment System, like the very first one ever, is like very nearly the end of the official timeline. And like
Okay.
the newest one that came out, Skyward Sword, is supposed to be like the first game in the whole chronology. So it's kind of weird like that. It's like Star Wars, right? The production technology doesn't line up with where it's supposed to be in history. It's like
Yeah.
backwards. But so and then there's this weird split because like you get the official timeline and it's like I'm pretty sure they cheated this because in Ocarina of Time there's like this time travel mechanic. You're an adult and then you become a child and you're an adult and you're like traveling back and forth. And they have like the timeline is like here's some games that come off like you stayed a child at the
Okay.
end, which is how like Ocarina officially ends. But then there's like two other like timeline streams, which is like this is you stayed an adult and you actually lost, and the like bad guy took over everything, and then you stayed an adult and you won, and so now there's different stuff, and so it's like yeah, like okay, it's a timeline, but I don't think
Uh-uh.
they meant it that way.
Yeah, okay. It's a timeline they kind of discovered as they go along, kind of
Yeah, they
thing.
like retconned it together or something.
That's cool. Um, so you said that you played the Wii one. Are you looking forward to the new one that's coming out at some point for the Wii
Yes,
U?
very much so. I
Hmm.
the whole adventuring aspect of the game is one of the parts that I really enjoy. And the new one,
Hmm.
the great promise is like there's going to be this open world,
Hmm.
kind of like Skyrim style, where you can just run from place to place. And one of the things that's like a mainstay of the Zelda series is you have this horse, Epona. So at some point in the game, you get the horse, and then you can like ride everywhere, which is a
Yeah.
pretty quick way to travel. And like in older games, it's been annoying because you'll ride and then you gotta wait and it's gotta load and you go to a new area and then you like ride through that area and then you gotta wait, it loads and goes to a new area. So in this one, supposedly you can just like keep riding across this gigantic map. They did this
Yeah.
demo that they were showing and they're like, yeah, you're standing on this cliff and you're seeing like over these valleys and fields and like there's this mountain way off in the distance and like you can actually go there and there's no loading in between and it's like, what? So I'm
Yeah.
pretty excited about that. Not to mention
That's
just
cool.
like the graphics on the Wii U are so much better. It's going to be amazing.
Okay, cool. Um, all right, and then do you still feel that Ocarina of Time is your favorite one because it was the first one you got into, or do you have other preferences?
It's it's probably my favorite. Twilight Princess is close is a close second. Twilight I just
Hmm.
loved the style of Twilight Princess. Like
Hmm.
Ocarina of Time was when 3D was new, so like it kind of has a style. I mean, it's pretty good art, but there was just so little you could do with it back
Hmm.
then. Like just the fact that it was 3D was mind blowing.
Yeah.
Twilight Princess actually has like good art direction, and I just loved the atmosphere. But at the moment, my favorite's probably Ocarina of Time, just because like I could probably play it blindfolded. Like,
So if you were to, you mentioned earlier, if you were to do a speed run, what kind of time do you reckon you could complete the game in?
Ocarina of Time, I would bet I could blaze through that in something like 20 hours, so
Okay,
25 hours. Yeah.
that's if you can do it in a day, yeah, that's pretty good going, I guess.
That's like a long day with a lot of Red Bull, but I guess that's a day.
You could get there, yeah. You could do that for charity. You can,
I never thought about that. My
yeah, get it
wife
live
might
streamed.
my wife might not like that. But yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. I'm okay. As I said before, I've played a few of them. I played one or two, and they always intrigue me because, like you're saying, they're so big. They're so the
Yeah.
story. It's not just like you go, you hack and you slash and you whatever. You kind of have to go through, and it's a puzzle game, but it's also an adventure and story all together. And um, yeah, so for me, it was quite. It's interesting to see that you've kind of stuck with it.
Yeah.
Are there any other games you play as well, or are you literally just stuck into Zelda?
I mean, there's definitely a degree I'm stuck into Zelda. One of the things about like staying within the series is
Hmm.
they keep a lot of the mechanics. So like in every game, there's always like you get the Master Sword usually, and that's like the best sword in the game, and it's supposed to be legendary. And like you pretty much always have a bow, and you have a boomerang, and you have bombs, and there's like you get them in different orders. But like one of the fun things about you'll be like running around, and I'll be playing one of the newer ones, and it's like beat a temple. Oh, you got the boomerang. It's like, oh yes, I know what this does. You know, like
Yeah.
there's that makes it really enjoyable to keep playing it. But I mean I do play some other stuff. I didn't play much games as a kid. My parents weren't big into video games, but I did get to play Age of Empires 2, like the Conquerors, and so that's always like fun and nostalgic to go back to. And because of that, some of the guys at Classy Llama and myself, for a couple of years, we were like into StarCraft 2, and I played that, but it was too much investment. I was playing like on the internet on the ladders, and it was like you just have to be so good or you just get owned all the time that it was like I couldn't do it. I got married, and I wanted to spend time with my wife, and so that was the end of that. So, and then probably the only thing that I ever played that comes as close to like loving it as much as Zelda was the Portal games from Valve. Portal and Portal 2 are just like they're so much fun. And again, it's like there's kind of a story to it and you don't, especially when you start playing Portal 1, you don't feel like there's a story. It's like, I'm just beating these puzzles. But like as you go along, it's like, wait, there's like more to the puzzles, and like what's with this stupid computer voice that's like taunting me, and is there a cake? And it's just so much fun because it just keeps opening up, and so I really enjoy that. Like Portal is the only game aside from Zelda I've played multiple times. So
okay, cool. Okay, so if someone had never heard of Zelda in their life, which it might happen, I guess, what would your one thing be for them that would say, yes, you've got to try it out, you've got to get into Zelda?
Well, just about every like ranking has Zelda, especially the Ocarina of Time, as like one of the best games ever made. And like it's the best game or one of the best games, like top 10 lists everywhere you go. And it's for good reason. It's just like this like great, light versus dark adventure, but that's, fun and there's some challenges, but for the most part, like it's not too hard. It's very like accessible gaming. You can get into it, you can enjoy it. You like pick it up and put it down, and it's just great fun. I don't think they've released one yet that like the reviews aren't just like, this is one of the best games this year and it's so much fun. They're just great. They're so much fun to play.
Cool. Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much for joining me, and thank you very much for being interesting.
Yeah.
It's been really interesting to hear your passion for it and how much you really love these games, and that's awesome for me to hear.
They're a lot of fun.
And as a reward for being so interesting, feel free to plug whatever you need at the moment to the audience that is still here.
Yeah, I'll just quickly say, check out Nucleus Commerce. They've been tweeting a bunch of stuff, and there's going to be, if you're going to be at Magento Imagine, there's going to be a giant epic party on Monday night. You should come. Nucleus is like building an accelerator for Magento, but it's not just us. There are a bunch of people on board. There's several partners that are all people that are coming together who recognize we need a way to make Magento more accessible for like smaller merchants, and that you can't do that effectively with just one company behind it. So check it out, nucleuscommerce.com.
Cool. Well, thank you very much again for joining me.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity, David. It's been fun.
It's a pleasure. I'm more than happy to get people on talking about what they have passion for. That's what I'm interested in hearing. So yeah, thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. And if anyone is interested in coming on and getting an interview, just hit me up on Twitter or anything on YouTube and I'll get in contact. But yeah, thanks again. This has been Mage Engage, and we will see you next week for another interview. Bye.